levels, but because of the intensity, it seems like people have heard about what's going on, and all the
What's up, guys? Boy Benny. Justice is supposed to be blind, right? That's what we've been told growing up. That's why Lady Justice, a statue that often sits in front of most courthouses in America, is blindfolded. That's kind of the image of justice, that it doesn't matter who you are, there is justice before the law, and you will be measured and weighed equally. That includes, of course, like where you come from, who your father is, who your mother is, what family you're from, and your skin color, right? Right. O.J. Simpson trial was a trial that was happening when I was like a very, very young kid, right? I was like 4 years old when the O.J. Simpson trial was happening. So I didn't really know what was going on. But what I have come to realize was that was actually sort of the first practice in the implementation of critical race theory, in that you can effectively push a agenda through people based on their socioeconomic and demographic backgrounds and literally break a system. And this is what critical race theory is about, right? And you saw that in the OJ trial. They actually sued to move the trial time and time again to get neighborhoods that were more majority minority in order to get a more positive ruling and to get a jury pool that would be more positive towards OJ. Now, this is a common tactic, but it is the largest mainstreaming of that tactic. And now with OJ's death that happened in the last 24 hours, people are starting to just straight up say it. They're starting to say, yeah, we let this man off with murder. He murdered a couple white people, I think a Hispanic and a white lady. He was an abusive monster. And we let him off because of social justice or something, because of equity or something, because somebody down the line somewhere with his same skin color was treated improperly. And this is us getting back at you. And it's now being openly admitted to by a couple of people that you should listen to. One is being openly admitted to by the media, right? So the press sitting here with headlines like this upon OJ's death. Corporate media treats OJ Simpson better than Donald Trump, says ALX. Legendary athlete, actor, millionaire, OJ Simpson's murder trial lost him the American dream. Oh, what about the people that were murdered? Did they lose the American dream? Yes, they did, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's really actually quite astonishing when you look at the data and when you go back and look at all the information against O.J. Simpson. I mean, O.J. Simpson would have gone to jail now because they have DNA testing, and O.J. Simpson's DNA was everywhere, all over the murder scene. Well, what does that mean? It means he killed the people, right? And that's what the jury said. The jury said that, of course, he killed them. This is a juror for the O.J. Simpson trial.
Do you think that they're members of the jury that voted to acquit OJ because of Rodney King?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How many of you think felt that way?
Oh, probably 90% of us.
Wow.
90%? Did you feel that way?
Yes.
That was payback.
Uh-huh.
You think that's right?
You think that's right. There's a guy named Rodney King. There's a drug addict. And the cops were, I mean, just call it what it is. They beat him to death. And now this woman who's on the OJ trial is saying, don't care. I didn't like that. I'm not saying that that's what should have happened. But anyway, she said, I didn't like that thing that happened. So now I'm going to let this murderer off. That's not restorative justice. That's not justice at all. That's just eye for an eye, makes the whole world blind. And that's like racial revenge porn is what that is. It's sick. This is a person named Nicole Brown. She is the victim of the murder. Nicole Brown called the police to report OJ's violence 9 times. In 1989, she pleaded for his arrest, but the system protected OJ and abandoned her. 3 years later, she and Ron Goldman were murdered. Biden sent his condolences on OJ's death. I prefer to honor the victims. Strong, ladies and gentlemen. Just a reminder that 90% of the jurors knew that OJ killed Nicole and Ron, but they let him off for revenge. What a system. That's not justice. That's a system based on revenge. And revenge, obviously, in a racial sense, which is what's the legacy of O.J. Simpson. And why it's just so unbelievably despicable, these headlines. And why it's like actually so wrong what's happening right now in this country, where we're literally trying to pass laws where you're going to be apply to a college. We'll judge you by your skin color. Apply to work at a Fortune 500 company. We're going to judge you by your skin color. Try and buy a firearm from the federal government. There's a giant section about your skin color. Why does the government even ask those questions if you wish to have an actual colorblind society and colorblind justice system? And if it's wrong one way, it's certainly wrong the other way. This reporter on CNN straight up saying the quiet part out loud. So many people were just happy to see somebody who is rich and famous and black get away with it. I mean, whatever CNN saying the truth.
Just worth noting how much was impacted by this trial, Jake. So many things happened. We saw policing changing here in the city. And it's also worth noting, because of that unrest, that racial unrest in the 90s, that is why so many people who may not have been invested in O.J. Simpson were just happy to see that someone who was rich and famous and black could get away with what other people did in the system as well, too.
Stephanie Elam, thanks so much.
Could just get away with it. I mean, what other people are doing? White people are bad. Remember, what kind of haircut is this? Can we like take a second and ask, what kind of haircut is this? Antonio Brown saying she got the Pennywise cut. Pennywise the clown. Yeah, somebody, a murder metaphorically on Twitter here from Antonio Brown. I thought this was really funny. So that's not the only time that CNN had somebody on to justify the racialized killing of O.J. Simpson and him getting off. He wasn't just a social justice leader, but he represented something for the black community, particularly because there were 2 white people killed, says CNN. Oh, okay. Well, let's get out with it.
It was so racially charged because of what had happened just before with Rodney King, but also just how Black Americans feel about policing. It's not like O.J. Simpson was the leader of the civil rights movement of his era. You know, he wasn't a social justice leader, but he represented something for the Black community in that moment, in that trial, particularly because there were 2 white people who had been killed, and the history around how Black people have been persecuted during slavery. There were just so many layers. And I guess I would just close with this, is that there was racial tension then, there is racial tension now.
I mean, okay. So here's somebody on CNN straight up saying that O.J. Simpson should get away with murdering white people because something wrong happened to black people at some point in history. Got it? That's how we structure a society. You know, this is like Rwanda thinking, right? You know, this is like the way that all societies collapse, right? Because one oppressed group feel like now they can oppress others. And this is really amazing how systemic this actually is inside of critical race. If you read through like the critical race theory, like doctrine, and if you read like Ibram X. Kendi, they straight up talk directly about this. How like the only way to right injustice is not justice for all, it's actually more injustice. So now one racial group must be able to murder at will other racial groups. If one was put upon or oppressed during some era, right? Newsflash, like all people are descendants of slaves. Elon Musk said this in a recent interview to Don Lemon, just blew his mind. All people are descendants of slaves. Every race has been a slave. Every single every person has been at the jackboot of another group of people or region of people or race of people, whatever. Them's the break. That's human history. That's reality. And it should be our goal to have a more perfect union. Instead, these people don't want to have a union. These people on CNN are straight up saying that the reason why O.J. Simpson was so important is because he was able to get away with murdering white people. They're admitting it. Now, it's been a running joke for a long time. Some of those jokes are quite funny, but people making O.J. murder a joke. I mean, how obvious was it that O.J. actually committed this murder? Well, there's DNA evidence at the trial. Unfortunately, DNA evidence was in its, like, in the early 90s was in its infancy. These days, O.J. would have been locked away. I mean, that's a matter of fact. There was so much evidence there against O.J. Simpson. But they weren't able to, like, they were able to get that stricken because that style of evidence was in its infancy, but it proves O.J. Simpson obviously committed the murder. But more importantly, they had to move the trial in order to make this a racial thing. And in order to, like, make this some type of, like, massive critique on the American system and to racialize that. You got Johnny Cochran, the lawyer for O.J. Simpson, that this was his main strategy at the trial, was the martyrdom racially of O.J. Simpson. Now, again, this has been a running joke long enough for, well, Norm Macdonald to obviously make a career off.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that? And what a season he had. Great, man. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case, all bets are off. Just a word of advice.
Okay. Oh, Norm, can't hold Norm down. Oh, wait, what about Saturday Night Live? Oh, yeah, not just Norm. I mean, it's everyone's. Like, it was the laughing side. They did this with Harvey Weinstein, by the way. They would, like, make jokes about what a monster Harvey Weinstein is. They did the same thing with O.J. Simpson.
This has been using a lot this year. Now, you lined up your halfback right behind your quarterback. Your tight end has been running a curl pattern. Now, when Kelly fakes play action, the defense is frozen, allowing your wide open to be open on the other side, opening a hole in the middle and a seam on the left. I gotta go. Okay. Well, I'll just watch from a distance, all right?
OJ, why don't you just come right out and say it?
All right. It hurts to admit this, but live from New York, it's...
Okay, well, now clips are beginning to resurface, given the current atmosphere here. The CNN literally bragging that black O.J. Simpson got away with murder. Clips like this are beginning to resurface and creep everyone out.
Did you do it?
No, I didn't. Nope. Did not do it.
After we finished filming, OJ said to me that he had a surprise for me, and I genuinely was surprised. I think it was his idea of a joke. And this is it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. The only joke that we have in this country is our justice system that, quite frankly, isn't blind and will do eye for an eye justice and injustice to all, depending on your skin color. And it's horrible. And it's a trend that was started by O.J. Simpson. It should end. But it's amazing. Like, we live in a much more racist society now than we did in the 90s. And everything now becomes a paradigm of skin color because the left sees that as an institution, as institutional control, as something that they can manipulate for power. And they did so with O.J. Simpson, and they're doing it again today. And so, remember, these people on CNN, what they're saying, okay? And think about whether, you don't think this is going to end badly. This totally ends badly. Societies that separate and along racial lines and give certain races priorities or let them out of jail for free, let them get away with murder, that's not great societies. That's been proven time and time again throughout history. We don't want that here in America. We're fighting against that here in America. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe to help us fight.